Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new RGM podcast. It's the first in the new series, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to try things a bit different. We like to spice things up and do things in new, innovative, can't say that word, ways. Try and engage with people online, because that's all we can do these days. And my special guest for the first in the series of this podcast is Anastasia Walker from Bang Bang Romeo. How are you doing, mate?
Hey up, mate. I'm not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, sound. Just, we're getting through things, aren't we? We're trying to muddle on, and I can't really complain at the minute. To be honest with you, I'm doing all right.
That's good. I mean, that's great. I mean, my grandma and my granddad have found plenty to complain about.
Yeah.
But I think this time round, we're all a little bit more equipped, aren't we, to deal with?
I think so.
Stuff going ahead. So I think we're all just a bit smarter. I think, not as naive. Because why would we know what to do in a lockdown situation?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not too bad this time round. Just we've got to be smart, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. So I just want to go back into the olden days, because I remember watching Bang Bang Romeo at the Lead Mill many years ago. And it's just great to see. My whole thing throughout doing RGM is enjoying the journey of a band and watching them progress and crack on, really, and just watching the people that I've spent time with before. I just love that journey, and it's just been great to see your journey. I know this year has not been the best one, but it's everyone's in that boat, aren't they? But it's just been great to watch the journey, and just looking back at those days at the Lead Mill, your tunes and that, they're quite different to what they are now. So I remember Johannesburg and Carnival being my favourites from the olden days, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So your sound has developed and changed a little bit. Just talk us through what's happened in your head as a band and what's made you go a slightly different direction, I'd say, if that's fair to say.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair to say. I think we're influenced by so many different things and so many different genres. And in my spare time I listen to a lot of pop, quite a lot of R&B. Cook listens to a lot of experimental stuff. Richard would listen to a lot of prog. Right. So it's kind of like it's so hard to pigeonhole the band, because we're constantly inspired by all different types of stuff. I mean, I think there was a phase where we're really inspired by Kanye and stuff. So we definitely developed. I think when we first started out, we were kind of like, right, it's got to be guitar, bass, and drums, and that alone sort of thing. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of Ross's previous bands, and kind of what was on the music scene at the time. But we just kind of wanted to take it to a different sort of place. And then we started listening to a lot more the Flaming Lips and all that sort of stuff. And I'm massively inspired by, pop in general. So we kind of
was it a little bit constraining then, just like being within a band that's just like bass, guitar and the normal type of like indie lineup sound system and all that? Was it a bit constraining, that, do you think?
Yeah, we didn't want anything to kind of stop us from doing what we wanted to do, and we didn't want to have that sort of, oh no, we can't try that because this is the band that we are. And we were like, well, no, well, whatever the fuck we put out, that's who we are, sort of thing. So I mean, it's made us harder to pigeonhole, but we didn't just want to be restrained by those instruments. We wanted to take it every step that we could, whatever inspired us at the time and all that.
Yeah, so what if you look back at your days in the early days of the band, what do you think is like one of the biggest things that you learned before you progressed in the industry? What kind of, like, looking back at young Anastasia, what advice would you give her now, and what were you learning during those early days of being in a band to set you up for more success further down the line?
Yeah. Fuck dickheads off sooner.
Okay.
Don't let yourself be put down by people, and don't let, because it restrains in so many in different ways, not just musically but personally. And I think, we can say it's down to being a woman in the industry and all that kind of stuff, but I don't want to have, my vagina's not an excuse to be a dickhead to me, so I kind of I don't like to put it down to that. But there is a little bit of sexism in this sort of industry, so not only do you feel a bit constrained musically, you're going to feel a little bit personally restrained as well. And I don't want you to listen, Anastasia, you're Anastasia, I don't want you to listen into that, and I don't want you to give into that. And just do whatever feels right. Don't stop because you're told to stop.
Yeah. So you mentioned sexism in the industry there as well, and I think it's very obvious that it's still the case when you look at festival lineups, and you just see how male orientated the lineups are that have been announced for next year. It's still not the right balance there. And I think I've been thinking about that quite a lot, and with RGM and our writers, and we used to be about 80% male writers, but I think we've got more female writers now for RGM. And I think at my little project that I'm doing, RGM, I think it's something that even people at my level in the industry should be thinking about, not just the people at the top as well, to try and change that, I think.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that you said that about the festival lineups, especially because I saw Black Honey posted something yesterday. It was like this glorious festival lineup that was women only, but it was kind of like a message to that sort of, well, there's not enough female bands to do this and all that. Well, no, there is, because go and have a look at this festival lineup, and these are not just up and comers; these are like the biggest artists on the planet, sort of thing. I don't think festival creators go in there thinking, right, no women. But I don't think they go in there thinking, right, shall we support women? do you know what I mean? I think that's the problem.
What do you think they are thinking?
Right, who's available?
Okay.
I think they're following an easier sort of trend with bands that are maybe doing well, particularly in different magazines or all that sort of stuff. But really, festivals should be the ones that have their ear to the ground when it comes to brand new bands. They should be the ones showing us who these new artists are. They shouldn't be waiting for these artists to, well, have they been on the front cover of Vogue yet? Well, we're not putting them on this. So, well, no, festivals should be the one announcing these artists to the world. And they're not. They're waiting for the trends to already develop before they put out the artists. And I think they should have a little bit more faith in the general public, because they're thinking, they're not going to go if it's all female lineup and maybe they're not as famous as X, Y, and Z. But have a little bit more faith in the general public. I mean, Jesus, you look at the original Isle of Wight festivals, and apart from the 3 headliners, no one knew who the rest were. But the capacities were infamous for being overrun with people trying to get in. So I think we need to, give the general public a little bit more credit that they're not just going to go based on who's the most famous person there, rather than who's the best.
Yeah. So when you started to pick up traction, you were doing big tours with This Feeling, and things started to happen, and you got given a record deal. Not given, you earned a record deal. That's the right way to put it. So you're speaking to more people within the industry and more professional people in the industry. What's the male-female balance when you're speaking to people in the back offices of these companies?
You know what? Pretty even.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. I mean, whether it's just the look of my circumstances, but I was in a pretty female-driven team. I mean, my manager now, Lisa Stanway, is, kick-ass woman, and the people that were, at the record label, they're all strong women. So there was, that's a pleasant surprise though, right? I mean, yes, the owners are still male and the CEOs are still male, but surely that means that we're being seen and we're going up the ranks and all that sort of stuff. And this is what should have happened. You know what? It's bizarre that we're even having to have this conversation.
It is still, isn't it?
What a load of shit. How bad is it that this is part of our chat? were there any women at your record label? And I get why you're asking that. It's not your fault. But just the fucking world. Like, why are we actually, why are we having this conversation? Yeah, and it's because we're not progressing quick enough away. And sort it out, planet Earth.
What more can we do as people in the industry? Like, it's easy to say sort it out, innit? But
yeah,
I think we've all got a responsibility to do something. What can we do?
I think by seeing the problems on the festival lineups, and instead of just going, oh yeah, there's a problem, we'll do something about it then.
Yeah.
Go and do something about it then. Yeah. Properly, and I directly mean at the festivals, because like we said, festivals is the main places to see brand new artists that are gonna make it. It's all when I go in, oh, there's a problem with this and there's a problem with that. It's like, we'll do something about it then.
Yeah.
And like yourself, start writing more about female artists then. Yeah. And not as female artists, just artists. Yeah. Like, I'm sure you've seen about me, like my biggest pet hate is Bang Bang Romeo female fronted.
Yeah.
Like, oh, fuck
lazy
off.
That, innit?
Come on, it's so lazy. And and people will say, well, no, because surely that helps. Yeah. It's like, well, no, because it's not helping, because, we're putting a spotlight over the thing that's the most least important about my band. Yeah. Not just my band, all bands, but it's a pet hate. And I think, can we stop saying that there needs to be something done about it and actually do something about it? Let's get more women on the cover of music magazines. Let's get more women on festival lineups. Let's get more women supporting the big acts on tours. Let's do it to the point where we don't have to say women fronted. Fucking hell.
Because I can remember I were interviewing Laura McClure, and she obviously she's in the band Reverend and the Makers, but she's a massive part of making that cog tick as a band and doing all the booking all the tours and accommodation and all that kind of stuff. So there's so much that how now you're signed now, do you still have to work as hard as that, or have you got people to help you?
Work harder.
Yeah,
absolutely work harder. We're a very DIY band as it is.
Yeah.
So all the artworks that you see is completely created by us. A lot of the campaign plans are primarily our ideas.
The album covers Ross's child, isn't it? Ross's.
Yeah, little Noah, yeah.
Did he just take that photo of himself just out and about, and it ended up being the album cover then?
No, we knew what we wanted to do.
Oh, okay.
We knew what we wanted to do, because we got Ross wrote a song called Natural Born Astronaut. Natural Born Astronaut, did I say that right? Okay. And we knew... we kind of like discussed what we want the cover to be, and it kind of all came out the same. We're like, well, Noah's got to be the front cover. So we went down to Blackstone Quarry in Doncaster and took a picture of Noah, because it's like got sand there, so we took a picture of Noah. Noah was like, Dad, why do I have to do this? And Ross was like, shut up, Noah, just stand still.
You'll appreciate it one day, boy.
Yeah. But I mean, he's really happy about now. I think he's got a massive poster of it in his bedroom and stuff. But we do it all ourselves, but the hard work never stops. It gets more and more and more. And the second you take your foot off the pedal, my dad says that musicians, actors, and all these people in the industry, they're kind of like apples. They grow on trees. The second you sour or you drop, they'll just pick another one up. So make sure you're the juiciest fucker of the bunch, and that you don't, fall off the tree because someone else is waiting to take your job. There is someone else round the corner, just as good as you, waiting for your spot. So don't take your foot off the pedal, and we certainly don't like doing that. We like to work really hard and keep focused.
Just sticking with the McClures a bit, when I interviewed John, he said exactly the same thing. He just said, even he's established, he's had the holy grail of making a career in music and making enough money from music to make a living. And he still feels like on every release, you still see him very active on social media personally, just grafting and doing home gigs and just doing everything he can to still keep going. So like a young band that might be watching this, you're not just sorted because you've signed a piece of paper to a record deal. That's when it gets serious, and that's when you should be in a position where you're marketable anyway, because it's hard work to get signed. But that's when the hard work really starts, I think, when you do get signed, I think.
Without a doubt. And, you know, going back to John and the whole Reverend and the Makers guys, like, they're the poster child of what can happen if you work your arse off.
Yeah.
And not just, you know, the hits and all that sort of stuff, but to make sure that you're not a flash in the pan, because Reverend and the Makers are still selling out like every venue on the tour, aren't they? Yeah. Every venue on their tours, regardless of when their hits were. I have so much time for John. I totally agree with that. Yeah, the hard work don't stop. Someone's waiting for your spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last time I saw you guys live, I think it was Jimmy's. You were doing Off the Record, like it was like a surprise slot, yeah. It feels like about 5 years ago, but I think it's about a year and a half or something like that, ish.
Was it? I mean, are we counting this year as a year? Because I want my receipt back. if that's the year.
Or was it the year before then? It was just before the Pink tour and things, because I remember speaking to you and saying, are you going to just like taking piss out? You're saying, I bet you're not carrying this when you get to Wembley.
No, it couldn't start last year then. Yeah.
When was the Pink tour then? When was that?
Just Pink tour was last summer.
Pink
was last summer, yeah.
It must have been just before that, so February before that, I think it was around about then.
Yeah.
I can just remember, you know, looking forward to it and popping down to see you, because, you know, and Jimmy's is a really small venue in Manchester, sadly not there anymore, but hopefully he'll come out of the flames again.
Yeah.
But you had this tour with Pink booked, and then you were still doing these little venues. So that just shows me that you're still grafting, weren't you? Even though you knew this big thing were going to happen in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we don't cancel shows, and we're not snobbish, and we're not anything like that. You know, I think possibly, you know, I think there was a lot of gigs that were booked in before the Pink tour was booked in.
Right, okay.
And I think like a lot of people would have been like, no, make sure you're not doing that gig, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. It's like, well, no, those gigs are booked in, so we'll fill those gigs that are booked in.
Yeah.
And we want to gig. We want to play. Like, that's all we want to do. Like, if it was legal to gig in the street, I would do it right now. But yeah, like some of our favourite gigs ever are the tiny little venues that turn into hot boxes, and they're the best. I love Jimmy's as well. What a great vibe.
Yeah, true. So you got a call then, you got a phone call, right? Just a phone call, and they said, who was it that phoned you? And just talk me through that moment when you found out that.
Well, we played a gig in London, and our manager called us like the day after, and he said, "Right, Pink's agent was there to see you last night, and she really likes you." I was like, "Oh, well, fucking hell, I love Pink.
How does that happen?
This is great."
Say
that again, sorry.
Random, or had they heard of you? And
I think they'd heard of us, and she knew that we were playing, so she came along. But we didn't know anything about it, which is probably a good thing, because the last thing I want to do is get on stage going, "Pink's agent is in the room. Pink's agent is in the room."
Yeah, it's okay.
Sort of thing. But yeah, so it was like, right, Pink's agent likes us, and that we thought that was it. We were like, what? I can die happy days. No, and then a phone call a couple of days later. Pink's going on tour next year, and her agent wants to throw your hat into the ring as a support band. So straight away we were like, well, that's never going to happen. But thank you, buzzing my tits off. Yeah. And then we got a phone call saying, actually, you've got through to the next part of it. It's now up to Pink herself, who supports her. So again, we were like, oh, well, it's been a nice ride. All this sort of stuff. And then, we finally got the phone call that Pink's actually chose you to open the tour. And lots of tears. I was eating Cocoa Pops, watching Jezza Kyle, and I rang my dad, and he cried down the phone, and he said, "Can you remember when we went to go see Rotherham play at Wembley Stadium?" I went, yeah, play. I went, yeah, and he said, what you said to me was, "Dad, I'm going to play at Wembley Stadium one day," years ago. And he went, "No, now you're going to play 2 days at Wembley Stadium." Wow. And it was just a wonderful moment between me and my dad, and We just a lot of crying, to be honest with you. Just literally blubbering. He was like, to his girlfriend, he was like, Sharon! So quite funny, but what a wonderful, humbling experience. I'll never forget it.
How do you prepare for something like that? Because obviously, just the size of the stage and, playing decent sized venues, but everything's small compared to what you're going to be playing. Did you have to practice in bigger rooms just to prepare for it, just to be that far apart from each other and still have that, vibe when you're playing live? Was that a thing at all?
I think we might have practiced at the Leopard in Doncaster. Okay. I think that's where we rehearsed. No, because we were very lucky because we knew we were going on tour with a tour company. I mean, in terms of like fitness and stuff, I was training like 4 times a week.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't as sexy as I am now, but I was definitely fitter. So much more fit. We're all exercising, we're all training.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's all well and good being a rock star, but first and foremost, if you want to be a rock star, you've got to be a musician. And to be a musician, you've kind of got to make sure you turn up on time and that you can actually do 2-3 months on tour.
Yeah.
So preparation, yeah. I mean, I also didn't smoke or drink throughout the whole tour. I didn't have one sip of anything or caffeine. Yeah. So that was a weird one, to not have one sip of alcohol or caffeine for 2-3 months was pretty weird.
I was just going to ask what did you do with your voice with that project and all those dates ahead of you? Do you have to look after yourself more? But you've already answered that. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I was like, before getting out of bed in the morning, I had a vocal routine to go through, training in the morning. There was certain foods that I weren't allowed to eat because it would be bad for your throat. Like I said, no caffeine, no booze.
What's bad for your throat these days?
Tomatoes are pretty bad for your throat.
Oh.
They're acidic, yeah. There you go, we can take that.
We'll have that.
You can have that one. Any more? You want any more tips? Dairy's not good for your throat. So I was just a mardy bitch throughout the whole thing. But I couldn't. I love coffee.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have any coffee and all that sort of stuff. So, healthiest time of my life, really. Okay. But yeah.
Do you have to sing different? Do you have to? Because I presume you've got more monitors around you so you can hear yourself clearly and that kind of stuff. But you were very active on the tour.
Yeah.
Just from enjoying the videos and watching you playing these big arenas, just all up and down the stage all the time. Do you have to sing different? Do you have to project yourself different, or is it easier because there's such a big sound system around you? I'm just nosy of the mechanics behind it.
Oh yeah. We had because the stages were so massive. There was no way that monitors could work. So we had in-ear monitors. Yeah. And it was the best sound I've ever had in my life. Honestly, it was just incredible. I didn't have to change the way that I sang, which was cool. But I apart from performing, I had to change the way I did everything else.
Yeah.
Like the way that I spoke when I wasn't, on stage. I had to make sure I was aware that I wasn't pushing it. Because I don't know if you've noticed, Carl, but I like a chat.
Yes.
So it was a massive change to how I had to be. So good question though. Like, yeah, stage didn't have to change. Everything else did.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. So what was the first date that you did with Pink? Where was that?
It was in Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. So that journey over to Amsterdam, then having to hold yourself back and be good. What did
First time in a proper tour bus as well.
Oh yeah, you had a big posh one, didn't you?
We played the Isle of Wight festival.
Yeah. And
then we got straight off on the tour, straight from the Isle of Wight festival to the Pink tour the next day. So
what was it like coming up to the Amsterdam arena? Just the drive up, and what were the lads like?
The lads were just buzzing their heads off.
Yeah.
So the excitement on that bus, I can't explain to you at all. However, it was kind of like Christmas morning every day when we went to like Amsterdam being the first one, because we were traveling through the night. We never got the driving up to Amsterdam sort of thing. It was always waking up and opening the curtains on the tour bus and being like, oh my God, that's Johan Cruyff Arena Stadium. I'm like, wow. My dad came to see me the first ever one. Obviously cried like a baby again. God, Chris, so emotional. Just like kids at Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, like the feeling is incredible. I think there's a video of me somewhere saying I've just come off stage and I'm never going to be the same again. And to be fair, I haven't been. My dreams are even bigger. My aspirations are bigger. And it's kind of like you get a taste of what you want forever. And I'm still hungry.
So it must be nice to have all, because you did film a lot of it, and it must be nice just seeing that footage back and just seeing you in that tutu with a shot behind you and you've got Wembley in front of you. That just must be like, you know.
Honestly, I was having nightmares that I was going to go. I was, because this is the thing of saying hello Wembley, and I had like full blown nightmares of fucking that up.
Yeah.
Like full on like, Wallow Wembley. No. So it's amazing to watch it back, but then to remember all the little things behind it, like Pink's, her crew and her team are just phenomenal. Like everyone is just so kind and everyone is so professional. Like if you're seeing, like, there's no room for ego, there's no room for trying to be a fucking rock and roll star. Like the true art of being a rock star is actually being able to make sure you're there on time and work your ass off and do all that sort of stuff. Because like we said, musician first, rock and roll star later. So God, we learned so much from them. We had so much help, so much advice from Pink herself and her team and the band as well. What an experience. So when I do look back at those videos, it'd just be nice to bloody gig again, really, wouldn't it?
Yes. Last question on Pink. What was Pink like?
She was incredible. She was everything that you'd hope her to be. That the whole never meet your idols thing. Well, it was shit. Always meet your idols. You just got to make sure you've got the right idols in the first place. Because she was wonderful. So full of advice. And at the very end of the tour, she gave us some flowers and some champagne, and which was already Pink's just giving us some fucking roses. Come on, this is incredible. And then I said to her, do you have any last bits of advice for me? She said, yeah, don't take any shit and don't give it unless you have to. I was like, oh, thank you. I'm going to get that tattooed across my face. And she's like, next time you're in LA, give me a call. I was like, yeah, next time you're in Doncaster, give me a call. Just wonderful. Honestly, so humble. She's so humbling. Unless you knew she was Pink, you would have no idea that she was one of the most famous singers of our generation. It's quite incredible how level-headed and grounded she is, and I'm so thankful to have got to meet her and spend that time.
So the Pink tour happened. Tour announcements came out. Everything started to happen. Did you have tours in Europe and America and all that kind of stuff planned? And then the big thing happened.
What's it called? COVID, is that what it is?
Yeah, the ongoing global bastard.
The ongoing global bastard. I love that so much. COVID, the ongoing global bastard.
Because nothing's been cancelled, everything's been moved and changed. And what kind of effect did that have on the band's mental health and that kind of stuff? Because
I've never hit depression like it, Carl.
I know. Stupid question.
No, it's not at all. It's God, it was fucking horrendous. I'm not really spoken openly about it so much, but I was in trouble. I was in real trouble. it's the longest I've not performed or done anything with the band. Years and years and years. So, yeah, hit me really bad. I was very depressed. And there was a couple of times where family had to intervene. And, you know, that's not just me. That's millions of people across the world also dealing with the same thing. But in terms of the band, yeah, it was very, very hard. And kind of the only thing keeping us from drowning was being able to talk and communicate with our fan base, our very, very loyal fan base. So what we decided to do in lockdown part 1, was kind of do a bit like let's make the Bang Bang Romeo social media a hub for entertainment. Not just music. Let's make sure we're putting quizzes on. Let's make sure we're doing exercise videos with people. Let's make sure we're doing art with people. Like, what can we do to keep people from feeling the way that we're feeling? Sort of thing. So that's what we did. And I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of quizzes to come out of lockdown part 2, but luckily we're in a better place now. But yeah, long story short, it was fucking dreadful, Carl.
I can imagine, mate. And it just looking, you know, you weren't just on your own, but you just had so much momentum, and it's just going to be delayed till whenever it's delayed to. So it's just, you're just in hide. Everything's just paused for a bit, and then it's just going to start again, surely. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it is paused, but like you said, we just had the whirlwind sort of thing. So it feels like you're going a million miles an hour, and then it just kind of stops. And I think, there's this, you know, when people do marathons, I mean, obviously I've never done a bloody marathon in my life. I've done a movie marathon. Got through the full Lord of the Rings in 24 hours. But they do say with like these long distance runners, if they completely just stop running, it's very dangerous, and their heart can kind of freak out. So they have to gradually start to slow down with their exercising and their training, rather than just cut out running altogether.
Yeah.
And we were long distance runners who had their feet chopped off. So it sounds very dramatic, but this music's our life.
Yeah.
And it kind of stopped. You know, we're supposed to play Glastonbury. We're supposed to go to the States, Europe. I was supposed to be spending some time in Greece to do some festivals. Lots of festivals across the bloody world, and lots of excitement, and it kind of just went. But in saying that, this is when I took my head for a shit. Yeah. And since being very down about it, I think I've written the best songs I've ever written in my life by quite a stretch. So without it, would that have been there? Yeah. Who knows? Probably not.
Sure. So with everything that's going on, and everything's paused, what am I going to say? As creative people, do you think we've got a responsibility now to be more creative and produce more things in different ways to keep the creative industry going? Do you think it's a part of responsibility on us to think, no, I'm not going to just stop like the government want us to? You know, they've shut on the creative industry. Do you think we've got, rather than carry on moaning about it, do you think we've got responsibility to crack on and just keep things on track?
I think, as well as responsibility, do we have a choice? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to quit? All right, go quit then. It's kind of like one of those things where a lot of people say, oh no, I don't want to do this on social media because I don't like social media. And it's like, right, cool. Social media is happening whether you like it or not. Yeah. So you can either do it or fail. So yes, we do have a responsibility. I can sit here and moan about the government, which I do quite a lot, but I can continue to do that. Or I can do something about it. Yeah. Because, like we said, the other apples on the tree are going to be doing something about it. Yeah. Do you want them to be picked? Like, by all means, go for it. So yes, there is a responsibility. Absolutely. I mean, we need to make sure that part of that responsibility is standing up to the government or rejoicing together as musicians to try and make change. So that is part of the responsibility. But the other part, you're completely right. We must keep creating music in different ways. Think of different methods then. Invent the next biggest app that overthrows Spotify. Do this, do that. Create the next biggest album and make sure that we're putting festivals on with more women on, and make sure we're just putting more festivals on in general. And be creative. Absolutely. It's, you know, kind of like eat or be eaten, innit?
Yeah.
Crack on.
So what kind of, just looking back through your years as a musician, what kind of if a young band's watching this and they're after a bit of advice or a bit of inspiration from yourself, you're turning your nose up, don't you like this question?
No, not at all, no. Is that what it look like?
Your nose were going up a bit.
Was it? No, no.
Okay.
No, great question.
What kind of pitfalls could a band fall into easily that are just getting into the industry? What advice could you give a young soloist just looking to get into the industry? What kind of advice would you give people joining us?
Don't believe your own hype. And don't blow your own trumpet. Let other people blow it for you, because it's going to feel a lot better. I just work hard. Look, you've got a choice, like we said earlier. There's another 50,000 of you. You're not special. I'm not special. You're not special. We're just here. And the reason why we're here and we're having this conversation is because one day we decided to work really fucking hard.
Yeah.
And that's it. So, yes, you've got to be talented. You've got to do this. You've got to all that sort of stuff. You've got to make sure that you're honing on your skills. You've got to make sure you adapt. But work hard. Yeah. Like my dad says, he's my hero, so he won't like me banging on about him. But talent alone is not enough.
Yeah.
And you need to get that tattoo to your arm.
Yeah.
Work hard. Make other people shout about how special you are because of the hard work that you're doing. If you're walking around going, I'm special, I deserve this, well, I'm sorry, kid, you don't.
Yeah.
You know, go work hard, keep doing what you're doing, and people will start saying it for you. And those are the artists that I massively, massively love. Like we said, Reverend the Makers, because they work fucking hard and they're great and they're brilliant. So yeah, talent alone is not enough, and it's not everything.
Great advice. What was it like I noticed you've done a couple of gigs recently before lockdown too. What was it like just getting the old guitar back out and just playing a few gigs down at Sydney and Matilda recently?
Honestly, such a wonderful, wonderful feeling to have. I can't thank Rach Brown, Northern Exposure, Sydney and Matilda enough for going ahead and doing it. I loved it. It was kind of like being reunited with an old friend sort of thing. Yeah. And it really is the longest I've not played before. So I was like a bit nervous. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Can I remember how to sing? Because I've only been putting concerts on in my shower recently, and the Tresemme bottle doesn't say shit. So is this going to go down well or what?
Yeah.
And luckily it did. I had the time of my life. Thank you to everyone that turned up. And again, thanks to Rachel Norman Exposure for putting it on. Like, badass. Again, another woman smashing it. No, rock and roll, baby.
Did you have a chat with Tom? Because I know you did Tom from the Blinders were playing on the same gig, weren't they? Did you have a chat with him about how he's, because they were in a similar position, brand new album coming out, loads of things happening in the pipeline, everything got paused. Have you had a chat with those guys just about, you know?
I'm good friends with Tom. Yeah. And you know, every time we've had a drink, we have that conversation of, are we going to do this song together or what? And that sort of thing. So when that time came, we did end up having a conversation about, I said, look, how are you feeling? How's it going? Because I struggle sort of thing. And he said, yeah, no, me too. And all what we both had in common is we kind of made our notebooks on our phones and our diaries our best friends in terms of songwriting and lyrics. So that's what we both kind of turned to when it came to trying to deal with everything. which is good. It's a great thing to turn to. It could have been heroin. It wasn't. It was music. Happy days. You can't be more thankful as that, can you? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I love the Blinders. So I can feel their frustration as well in terms of, when everything, you've lined everything up and people think that it's just like a fluke. And it's not. It's a lot of planning. It's a lot of hard work and all that sort of stuff. So I felt the pain for them as well.
Yeah. So what's coming up next year then? So let's look to the future. Let's end on a positive. What you've got to have another album written by now, surely.
There's about 5. Well, there is actually some very, very exciting things happening next year. And I'm not allowed to tell you about it.
I ask the question every time, even though I know you're not going to be allowed to say out, but
I'm not allowed. But all I'm going to say
as long as there's exciting things happening, then I'm happy.
It's the best songs I've ever written in my life.
Yeah.
And it's a very exciting thing that is going to happen. So that's all I can say. But just make sure that you keep your ears to the ground, and I'm sure I'll be letting you know about it sooner to the time and all that sort of stuff. But you know what? It's been one hell of a planning year, hasn't it? So if no one's written any songs or made any plans for next year, then what have you been doing?
I hope not every fucking song's about COVID though. So let's not drag that into next year if you know what I mean.
No, fuck that. I can't keep doing it. I can't keep going. Like, I've dipped my toe into like the political sort of COVID era sort of song. And I can't do it again because music is my way of releasing myself from that sort of world. I'm very political, as you probably know, Carl. Very political. I'm very, in touch with what's going on in the world because, well, why wouldn't you be? And music is my escapism from that. So I'm trying not to stress. So I'm not writing about COVID at all.
Good on you. Well, thanks for joining us today for this new video podcast on the first guest of the brand new series. Really appreciate your time coming. I'm really happy. There's loads of things planned for next year, and I can't wait to hear what it actually is. Thank you. And thanks again for your time, Stars. See you, and I'll catch you whenever I catch you, mate.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me, Carl, and thank you as well for being somewhere that I've been going to personally online to like check out what's happening in music because we can't go to gigs anymore. Yeah. So I'm like, who's been reviewed next? So thank you for not going quiet regardless of not being able to go to gigs and all that sort of stuff. So we've been
every day through the pandemic, which is something we're really proud of. Every day through the pandemic, we're bringing new stuff out all the time. Just trying to not let this global bastard get us down and just cracking on. And
global bastard, I love it.
That's all we can do. Nice one.
Smashed it. Cheers, Carl. Thank you.